Good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everybody? Phew, Monday. And Monday after a holiday is a bad Monday. It's a bad Monday. Because, you've had an unusual weekend because of the holiday. Our holiday kind of took a different turn because my husband got really sick. He's doing better, though. Thank goodness. And I was just thinking this morning as I was putting stuff up, from the holiday. And I was like, you know, these holidays don't creep up on us anymore. It's like they just jump on us. It seems like just a couple days ago I was taking down the Christmas tree. Now I'm like, damn, what holiday is next? It's one after another. Good morning, Kiki. Hey, Shannon. Hello, Jakey. Nana made it in. Tamara. I see Slim. I see Alex. I was in here chatting with you guys earlier. If I missed anybody, I apologize. It was not on purpose. I was actually on the phone with Muscles, so I can't say I missed her. We do have a couple of birthdays in here. We have a couple of birthdays. Let's take a second and let's wish Stacy and JTB a happy, happy birthday. JTB's was yesterday, but we didn't have a show yesterday. And Stacy's is today. So I hope JTB had a fabulous birthday yesterday. And I hope Stacy's is fabulous today. So, first off, how was your Easter? Tell me all about it. What did you eat? What did you do? I saw lots of adorable pictures of the kids doing Easter egg hunts, dressed to the nines. I love seeing all that stuff. Hey, Joy, what's up, girlfriend? So ours was pretty laid back. We didn't really get to do much of anything. 'Cause like I said, my husband was sick, but he's feeling better now. So it is what it is. So just like that, on to the next one. And it's going to feel like a blink, and we're going to be talking about Christmas again. Steph said Greek lamb soup. Ooh, I need that recipe. Send that to me. Can you email that to me? Hello, Evil CJ. How are you? Alicia worked in the yard and made ham and cheese sliders. That's what I'm talking about. And then had carrot cake. There you go. There you go. That's how you do it. Now, have you heard about this case? Marion County, Florida. It is horrible. It's horrific. This happened last week, and I could not juggle the schedule and juggle the time. And it's a good thing that I didn't, because so much unfolded all at once. It's horrible. There are 6, I'm going to say young people. I'm just not in the mood to say kids today. 6 young people involved. 3 were murdered. 1 is on the run. He's on the lam. 16 years old, a $10,000 reward for him. 2 are in jail. One of the murder suspects is 12 years old. I'm not making this up. I can't make it up. This is crazy, guys. Absolutely crazy. Let's look at something real quick. First, I'm going to put up these are 2 of the victims. This is Layla, 16 years old, and Camille. Layla's on the left, Camille's on the right. There's a third victim, a boy, 17 years old. And his parents, they don't want his name out there. And that is their right. I'm not judging them. Snazzy said they caught the one on the run. Okay, thank God. See, like I said, it's one thing after another with this case. The way it was unfolding over the weekend and it was welling up on Friday, I was like, God, this is crazy. Now, all 6 of them knew each other. They were friends and they had different nefarious criminal activity going on amongst them. 3 turn on the other 3. Yeah, yeah. Here are the suspects. We're going to go left to right. On the left, Christopher Atkins, 12 years old. In the middle, Robert Robinson, 17 years old. Then on the end, and I'm probably saying his name wrong, but Taj Bruton, 16 years old. Now, from what I'm reading in chat, they have caught Taj. He's no longer on the run. We are seeing such a plague of this, a bubonic plague, okay? Yeah, a friggin' 12-year-old. Right now, we're heavily covering the case out of Georgia, Glenn County. Trent, his so-called friends, taped him to the chair, poured vodka down his throat, spray painted him, peed on him, pooped on him. 6 times the legal limit. He almost died. We have the case of Lily Peters. We covered that heavily last year. Her 10 years old. Her cousin killed her. Heavily, we spoke about Kylie Rodney. That was like season 14 of Alpha Dog. Aiden Fucci. We have Devin and Lyric in North Carolina. Sierra Rod. We had a Facebook group for Sierra years ago. That was an Alpha Dog situation. I don't know what the hell is going on around here. Do these parents think these kids are cute? 6 young people. Simple math. You have 12 parents. You're telling me out of 12 parents, and I guarantee there's some step parents in the mix. There's a grandma, there's a grandpa, there's an aunt. Somebody had to have been aware that these kids were on the wrong path. Somebody. And I'm not just speaking for myself here because I know a lot of you guys very well. We've all had to tell our kids no. We've had to tell our kids, you're not hanging around with that kid. You're not hanging around with that group. No, 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 no. Don't go to school and go to their face and tell them that you can't hang around them, like Brooks here used to do. I used to love to tell kids why my mom said I couldn't hang out with them. I loved it. But no, you're not going around them. So we have this excuse parenting going on. I mean, you guys don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about it, but it's out there and it's affecting our schools badly. But it's excuse parenting. You have these parents that say, well, you can't really do anything or CPS will take your kids. Nah, girl. Nah. Nobody's going to take the teenager because you took the phone. Nobody's going to take the teenager because you wouldn't let them hang out with a group of kids. Nobody's going to come take the teenager because you made them stay home and do their homework. Nobody's going to take the teenager because you say, well, maybe, your friend can stay out till 2 a.m., but those aren't the rules here. You're home at 9 o'clock. Nobody's going to take the teenager because you told them, no, you can't go out on a school night. That is bull crap. It's one excuse after another. In the middle of all this, coming down like 1,000 hammers and telling it like it is, Sheriff Billy Woods. He's not being treated very kindly in some of the comments. I'm losing faith in society when I see grown adults say he's got some nerve talking about how he's bringing shame upon these families. Now listen, you have 3 young people that were murdered. I don't think he's trying to add insult to injury. I don't think he's trying to rub it in their face that they obviously missed some serious red flags. I don't think so. I think he is disheartened that you have 6 young people, that would make 12 parents, and that's 12 parents that didn't seem to think anything was going on or didn't care. Maybe they're just as bad as him. Hell, I don't know. I was going back and forth in comments with the lady, and I was like, well, yeah, you tell him you're going to stay home, clean your room, take out the trash, do your homework, um, maybe mow the yard. You know, you're going to give them responsibilities. You're not going to hang out with those kids. And she's like, well, nowadays, CPS will take your kids if you take their phone. Try it. Try it. Excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse. This same lady also was in this comment thread saying that her 13-year-old daughter is her best friend. So basically, everything she said leading up to that point just got thrown right out the window. Kamari coming in with the facts. She's like, it's called parenting. Jakey said, I think Sheriff Woods is spot on. I do too. Have you ever heard of CPS taking a big ass teenager and saying, we're going to go and put this teenager in a state funded foster home because the parents won't let them use their phone because they abuse the privileges? Get real. You think they're going to take a big old teenager out of the home and put him in a foster care because they were told you have a curfew? These people are crazy. They are out of their damn minds. And these 12 parents will have to live with this for the rest of their lives. Now, 3 sets of parents get to visit their children in jail forever. And the other 3, they have to deal with horrific losses. They do. And it's just disgusting. I mean, I was going through just what I could come up with off the top of my head. Like I said, Trent and Glenn County. We had Lily Peters last year, and I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody. Kylie Rodney, Aiden Fucci, Devin and Lyric, Sierra Rod. The inmates are running the asylum. These parents, they treat them like they're their equal or something. Some of them think this shit's cute. My kid doesn't take any shit. Get real. Your kid's going to be taking shit for the rest of their life in jail. In jail. So for those that aren't familiar with the case, then let's go back to the beginning a little bit. Well, it is the beginning. Hang on.
Marion County Sheriff's detectives are investigating after 3 teenagers were shot and dumped near Ocklawaha.
Sheriff's deputies are releasing the ages of the victims. TV3's Ethan Badowski is live tonight at the Marion County Sheriff's Office. And Ethan, what are people in Ocklawaha saying about the murders?
I spoke with one parent who says she still feels safe in Ocklawaha despite no arrests being made related to the deaths. Deputies have confirmed that the body of a 16-year-old girl was pulled from a car submerged in a pond. They say the victim found by the side of the road on Friday morning is a 17-year-old boy. The car deputies found belongs to the final victim, 16-year-old Layla Silvernail. Some families are taking more safety precautions while deputies search for a suspect.
They don't ride the four-wheeler anymore as of all this going on, because that's exactly where when they found the car is exactly where I let them go. And then right next to it is a retention pond. They go and they ride their four-wheeler. They check in. I can see them. I track them on my phone on my app. And now you're not going anywhere alone, period.
Silvernail remains in the hospital, and deputies say she is in critical condition and fighting for her life. Sheriff Billy Woods is asking for help.
Now, we're looking for help. We're looking to help for the families who have lost a loved one. And there are folks out there that know.
Woods says despite social media rumors, there is no fourth victim, and they do not believe the deaths are the work of a serial killer. Reporting live in Ocala, Ethan Badowski, TV 20 News.
No serial killer. And this clip was from the day it happened. Well, no, a couple of days in. I apologize. Anyway, as we know, there's 3 murder victims. Nobody's clinging on to life anymore. It's horrible. And I couldn't imagine when the investigators were coming back to this no-nonsense sheriff saying, well, this is what we're finding out. Looks like they were doing some nefarious things and 3 turned on 3. We think there might be a 12-year-old involved. Could you just imagine his face? Could you imagine their faces coming across this? You might hear about these things in other towns, but when you realize it's in yours? And of course, right off the bat, people were saying, how come there's no arrests? I don't know where the microwave justice system comes from, but it doesn't work that way. I mean, every now and then, well, I shouldn't say every now and then. A lot of times, yeah, they find them really fast. But you're talking about a quadruple murder. It took them a little while to put this together, but yeah, right off the bat. I can't believe there's no arrests. It's like, people, really? They were having a hard time just going through all the crime scenes. Here's a map. You have Thursday, 16-year-old girl found. Friday, 17-year-old boy who will remain nameless. Saturday, 16-year-old girl. I'm glad he came out of the gate and said there's no serial killer. There's no serial killer. Quit being nuts. So, what are you guys thinking so far? Because I can't figure this out at all. I just can't. I understand teens are mouthy. I understand that our kids think we're stupid. That they're like, don't worry about me. I can hang out with whoever I want. I know what I'm doing. I'm way ahead in that class. But everybody, we were all kids. We were all teenagers. We'd look straight at our parents and lie. What are they going to do now? You have 3 dead young people, and you've got 3 that are going to spend probably the rest of their life in jail. Fan said, flashbacks from the Kylie Rodney case. Yeah, but thank goodness we don't have the Kylie Rodney sheriff. Because this dude's not having any of it. He's not having any of it. And when you see the comments that people are coming back at him, they're on his ass about gun control and everything. I like when he said in the conference, we're going to get to it in a second, he said, a gun didn't do this. A human being did. Auntie M said, how can the parents not be held accountable? That's what's going to have to happen. I'm really hoping in the Trent case, they go after these parents. That's what's going to have to happen. You're letting your kids drink. You're not keeping your weapons put up that are supposed to protect the home. They need to hold them accountable and make an example out of them locally. So maybe it will get the attention of some other parents that are parenting the same way. What do they call it? Free range parenting. On the other channel, we talked last week about these kids that they grade their teachers. These geniuses that are now saying that grades aren't important. Every kid should have the same grade. Yeah. That's what we're dealing with. And it's horrific. All right, so this is when they went and they were retracing the location of the car that was used.
We start with breaking news update tonight on the murder of 3 teenagers in Ocklawaha. Marion County Sheriff's deputies are trying to retrace the location of one of the victims' vehicles.
The car was pulled from a pond on Saturday with the body of a 16-year-old girl inside. Deputies are trying to determine where this 2015 Chevy Cruze was between last Thursday and last Saturday when the first and last victims were found. A family member has confirmed the identity of the 16-year-old girl who was found dead in the vehicle. TV20's Emma Delamo is live outside Lake Bear High School where the victim was a student. Emma, what are we learning?
Now, the victim's name is Camille Quarles, and she was only 16 years old. Officials with the Marion County Public Schools confirmed that she was enrolled as a junior here in Lake Weir High School. Now, friends and family confirmed that teen's identity through a GoFundMe page where they're raising money to help with funeral costs. According to the page, Camille was living with her siblings and cousins at her aunt's house.
Well, I think it's horrible because they're so young. Well, teenagers are so young, and I know that they probably were out having a good time, and I feel for their parents and they're grieving, and it's just a horrible thing to happen to young people.
Investigators found Camille's body submerged in a car near Forest Lakes Park on Saturday. The car belonged to her friend, 16-year-old Layla Silvernail. Officials confirmed Layla died in the hospital on Tuesday, and 17-year-old boy was also found dead Friday morning, and he has not been identified. Now, Sheriff Bill Woods said the 3 teens were friends and they were together before their deaths. Detectives are investigating multiple suspects in this case. Reporting live in Ocklawaha, Emma Delamo, TV20 News.
And as said in the clip right there, not just Camille, but all the other kids that are involved, whether they're murdered or or in jail for life, they all have siblings. What do you think's going to happen to these siblings? Slim said Chris Cuomo wants more laws, but Sheriff Woods said we need enforcement for the laws we have. Yes, Sheriff Woods knows what he's talking about. Chris Cuomo's a reporter. He's supposed to report the news, not put his 2 cents in. What magic law do they want created that a criminal is going to respect? You see, when someone's going to do something bad, they don't go, let me check the law. That might be against the law. I don't know. It sounds like there could be a law out there about that. No. What magic law are you going to put with all the millions of laws we already have that's going to really get the attention of a criminally minded individual? What psychopath is going to say, hang on, I thought I heard that this might be against the law. Psychopaths don't think like that. They don't think like that. Criminals don't follow the law. We follow the law. All they're doing is imposing more laws on our asses. We don't need more laws. And all the law after law after law after law after law makes the defense attorney's job easier because they got so many laws to pick through. They have all these laws they can fight each other on. Gotta be kidding me. Chris Cuomo just needs to do his job. That is, report the news. We don't need his damn 2 cents. Good God. Absolutely ridiculous. So not only Chris Cuomo, but a few others, they're not agreeing with the sheriff. They're not agreeing with him. They don't like what he said. He even made a comment in his press conference about how he would tear his own kid's tail up if they were hanging around kids like this. I'm paraphrasing. They're like, so now he wants us to beat our kids? This is who people are celebrating? We're supposed to beat our kids? I'm like, wow. we're in a lot of trouble. We're in a lot of trouble, man. Let's look at this. I'm going to have to stop several times in here because there's so many things he says that make too much sense. And some of, there it's just Jinbug said, "How about parents be parents?" There you go. That statement right there would really upset Chris Cuomo, Jinbug. He may not want to be your friend after that.
Everybody being here. We're here for two reasons. Because of a very extremely tragic incident that has occurred. But on the other side of the coin, a conclusion to that tragedy. As all of you are well aware, last Thursday, March 30th, we received a call near Forest Lakes Park, where our first victim, Layla Silvernail, was located suffering from a gunshot wound. She would later succumb to her injuries. The following morning, we responded to a location about a half a mile away and located a second victim deceased on the side of the road from an apparent gunshot wound. Then on Saturday, April 1st, my deputies located Layla's car abandoned and partially submerged in a pond about 9 miles from the location where she was found. My investigators located the third victim inside of the car. And I'll go ahead and tell you because you've been asking me for specific details. She was located in the trunk. Now, I want to clear up before we get into those details, based on the interviews, digital evidence from her phone, she was there of her own free will. Now, I'm going to start off by thanking all of the entities. If there's ever a true example of law enforcement, communities coming together and a almost perfect collaboration to come to a conclusion in a week on a triple homicide is truly amazing. Those entities include the FBI, FDLE, U.S. Marshal's Office, and in my opinion, probably the best state attorney in the state of Florida for the 5th Judicial Circuit, Bill Gladson's assistant state attorneys. OPD, my deputies, detectives, forensic professionals, and our citizens.
All right. While he's thanking everybody, I am glad that he brought up the state attorney, district attorney, whatever you want to call him, because we're seeing also a rash in other cases of district attorneys that are afraid of cases falling apart. And I don't blame them. I couldn't imagine. It's hard enough to have a conversation with one person about a crime and make them understand. You got to explain it to 12. So he has a very good relationship, obviously, with the people that are going to have to put this in front of a jury. And I'm glad he called them out and said, we got a great state's attorney.
Who are truly amazing. Now, this one's going to come a shock to you. That includes you, the media. You helped us with getting information. My emotions right now are all over the place because I am so proud of my guys and girls. I didn't do a damn thing, but they stepped up to the plate. And yes, you put information out there, and I'll admit this, you wore my ass out of interviews. You hounded me. But don't ever think I didn't use you as well to get the information I needed. Now, the investigators were able to determine that this group of juveniles were involved in committing burglaries and robberies, which they referred to as a lick.
A lick. We heard that in the Okmulgee 4. If you guys aren't familiar with that case, I've got several videos on the channel about it. And that was the terminology used between the 4 guys that were going to liberate some items from Joe Kennedy's property. They said they're going to commit a lick big enough for all of them. And well, Joe, he did something different. That's a long story. With these kids, young people, and these parents that won't parent them. Camille's case, her aunt. It's not if they're going to go to jail, it's when. They're going to visit the jail in their 20s. They're going to get to it before high school. It's going to happen eventually. When? I just cannot believe that one of these suspects, murderers, is 12. You don't know that a 12-year-old's out committing a murder spree? Or that is hanging out with people that are 16 and 17-year-old and they're committing burglaries and robberies? Wow.
Now, although we had out there that was gang related, we have nothing specific to say that it was any rivalry or anything to such that cause. But however, each and every one of them, in some shape or form, is associated with a gang. Basically, simple terms, there is no honor among thieves. And at some point, these 3 individuals turned on our 3 victims and murdered 2 of them right there. They fled the scenes, but left a lot of evidence in their wake. Through the cooperation of the agencies that I previously mentioned and my office, we were able to begin compiling all of the evidence and finding these killers. Now, we were shocked and saddened by the violence, as all of my citizens, because we are shocked not only are the victims juveniles, but the murderers are juveniles as well. I know each of you in the media here and viewers out there probably heard us in law enforcement or even in community events talk about what is the problem. And I'm going to go ahead and address the first thing that I know it's going to come up, because there are individuals out there viewing, and to include some of you media, who want to blame the one thing that has no ability or the capacity to commit the crime itself. And that's the gun. These individuals committed the crime. Now, what's the solution? I wish I could give you that answer, because this world would be a whole lot better.
Okay, that's one of the statements, that pearls were being clutched. Now my question is, and obviously I'm not the DA, I'm not an investigator, not the sheriff. Can you hold all of these parents accountable? You know, obviously you're not going to do anything to the 3 victims' parents. You're not going to add insult to injury. They've lost their children. Their children are dead. But the 3 that were responsible, supposed to be responsible for these 3, the ones that committed the murders, Where'd they get the guns? Like other cases we've talked about, where'd the kids get the alcohol? When are we going to start seeing the parents being held accountable? I'd love to know. I really would.
But the fact is, society fails it. We do not hold our juveniles accountable. We minimize their actions. Let me tell you why I say this. Last night, I had to stare into the eyes of two mothers. It's not their fault. Because what I saw last night was two mothers who are willing to give their sons everything, do everything for them, and give them their own lives. But just like you and I, no matter how much we teach them, because I am a father, I am a father, and I cannot fathom what they were going through. These mothers and mothers across this nation need all of your help. Because here's what infuriates me. I've got a particular media who has a problem with putting photos of juveniles out. Now, we do it what the law says we can do. Put these photos out. I put myself in the shoes of those mothers because I heard one of them say it. I wish I would have known what this one was doing and who they were, because my kid never would have hung out with them. And to think and believe to minimize any actions that is criminal of a juvenile is a disservice, and frankly, stupid to think. We need to hold them accountable. And then hope that we can change it.
I guess my question is, what exactly did the mothers think their kids were out doing when they were burglarizing? Did they have any idea where their kids were? When did they exactly realize that they were part of all this? There was not any red flag. There was nothing. The mother of the 12-year-old, what did she think he was out doing? Playing hopscotch? When you don't show up to school, the school calls the parent and says, Billy's not at school. I don't think this is as big of a surprise to these mothers as they're saying.
I'm not going to be able to give you everything because there is a third suspect that we were unable to locate last night. But however, you will receive, you may already have it, the probable cause affidavit that tells you the details of the events that occurred. I will tell you this. I already told you of the witness hearing the gunshots. That is when all three were killed. The suspects were in the vehicle. This individual who is a juvenile also, is who we're looking for. Now, I'm talking to the viewers. Some of you know him, you know where he is, and you need to turn him in. Now, I will get him. I will find him, and justice will be completed. As you can imagine, my thoughts are all over this page right now. Fighting these type of crimes requires all of us to come together as a community. And Marion County stepped up to the plate. And we've been successful. Now, I know I've forgotten something and I'm missing something. So I'm going to open up the floor to questions.
Any type of motive given?
Mentioned it, robbery.
Sheriff Woods,
Go to her first.
I want to clarify. I know you said the suspects were in the vehicle. So are you saying all 6 were in there at one time?
Yes, ma'am.
And so the 3 individuals, the 2 that are in custody, and this person, they turned on the other 3 in the vehicle, and that's how this unfolded.
That's correct.
In the commission of a robbery of the 3 victims?
Not going to get into too many more of those details because of the third suspect.
Sheriff Wood, Ted Williams with Fox News. Did the suspects and the 3 dead teens, have you been able to determine how long they've known each other?
Short time.
Sheriff, you mentioned the gun. Do we know how the suspect got a hold of the weapon?
Car burglaries. Yeah. Ain't that right? All the gun laws we got in place didn't prevent it, did it? Neither will any new ones. Because here's the fact. The bad guy's going to get a gun no matter what law you have put in place. These juveniles shouldn't even possess a handgun. But they did. And I'll go back to you.
And there it is. Also, it is raining memberships. Pat K just dropped a membership like you had never seen before. Woo! Awesome sauce. Exactly. Check the expiration date, because I know some people come back to me and they're like, well, I thought I had a membership because I was gifted one. Check the expiration date, and then you'll know when to re-up it. And how you get it, I don't know. I think you have to put allow gifts, but you have to be on your phone. Somebody can tell you, because I'm not for sure. So there's the sheriff right there, and he's saying, listen, we've already got law after law after law after law. If you're going to commit a crime, you're not worried about the law. It doesn't work that way. Criminals aren't concerned about the law. They're not even too concerned about going to jail till they get there. When they get there, it's a different story.
Your question, a simple burglary, as some people will say, but I don't consider anything simple when it comes to a burglary. The law allows me, I'll plaster their face up on this page, up on my page, up on media. I will hand it out if the law allows me, because parents have the right to know who their kids are hanging out with in preventing this.
What did the suspect's parents say when you spoke with them about their arrest?
I personally didn't speak to them about the arrest. It was immediately after the interviews in which I talked to the mothers. But really, they don't have a whole lot to say. If you're a parent, put yourself in their shoes. Holy hell. Panic.
Good point. And when the media asks obvious questions, what do you expect them to say? Can you imagine getting hauled in to the sheriff's office and one of the investigators comes in and says, have you been watching TV or have you seen anything in your news feed on your phone? You know those 3 kids that were murdered around here? And they go, oh yeah, that was horrible. We think your kid did it. Oh yeah, what do you expect? What do you expect? Then they start laying out all the evidence. What do you say to that? Like you said, they're in panic. He said, holy hell. What do you say to that? I still have a lot of questions for the parents of the suspects. Where do you think your kids were when they were burglarizing? Let's talk about the 12-year-old. The 12-year-old hanging around with 17-year-old Robert Robinson. What did they think Christopher Adkins was doing with a 17-year-old? Christopher Adkins hanging around with 16-year-old Taj Bruton. What did they think? 12-year-olds don't need to be hanging around with people on the way out of high school. No one thought that was odd?
I'm scared to death as a parent. Embarrassed, ashamed. What do you think they're going to say?
Sheriff Woods, do you know if these 3 juveniles will be tried as adults?
All right, state attorney's office is reviewing that right now. Okay, so I don't want to say yes and then to turn around no, then you'll end up calling me a liar at some point. So.
What does to kind of piggyback off that? So what does accountability look like for you? I know you talked about.
Okay, I'm sorry, but LMAO. He's like, I don't know. I'm not going to say yes. And then it turns around and for some reason they can't charge him as adults and you come back and call me a liar because they will. They will roast him and say, he didn't know what he was talking about. That's the one that said we don't need gun control. That's the one that said we should be spanking our kids. That's the one that said that we should know who our kids are hanging out with. Oh, yeah. They'd lose their minds.
About juveniles being held accountable for their actions.
I will refrain an awful lot on that answer to this question, to the full extent of the law. Okay, don't take me wrong. I might be hard on people, but I also have a heart. And I've already told you, I am a father. But here's the one thing my boys know. Growing up, the freaking barber had my permission to whip their asses. And not only that, when this stuff came up on TV, I pointed them. I said, you don't have to worry about the law coming after you. Full extent. Because they took a life. Are y'all comprehending that? They took a life without thought. They deserve the full extent of the law.
Had you come in contact with these teens before? Because I see the pictures. Are these mugshots from previous incidents?
I personally haven't, but have we? Minimum contact. I can tell you right now. I know somebody over here had a question.
Sure. Do I understand correctly that the 3 victims were an active part of crimes prior to their deaths with these 3? Is that correct?
I don't want to give too much detailed information, okay? But let me put it this way. My dad was a fireman. Always said, where there's smoke, there's fire, okay? That's, folks, don't ask dumbass questions. And Andy, I apologize.
He knows Andy by his first name. Andy just got called a dumbass. Andy, don't ask dumbass questions. I got to hear that again. Listen.
I don't want to give too much detailed information, okay? But let me put it this way. My dad was a fireman. Always said, where there's smoke, there's fire, okay? That's, folks, don't ask dumbass questions. And Andy, I apologize. But really, do I have to spell it out to you? What do you think they were doing? They're associated with a gang. And I've told some of y'all in interviews, Gangs don't go to church on Sunday and then preach the gospel for the next 6 days. They're gangs because they commit crimes. How simple is this idea? Where are we losing it? And I know we're going long, but this is my press conference, not yours.
Sheriff,
Yes.
if all 6 were committing crimes, do you know why the 3 turned on the other 3?
I can't divulge that. I wish I could tell you. I'll tell you when we get this one. Okay. Listen, I want to tell you everything. I really do. And since day one, I've wanted to tell you anything. They have had a leash on me like you wouldn't believe. Next. Let's get somebody new.
Do we know the timeline of the 3 victims in terms of how they were shot? Was it all at once? And then?
Go back. You heard the bosses.
Yes, sir.
Do you know how they were apprehended? Were they hanging out somewhere? How were you able to catch up with them?
The one subject on the previous photo, Rob Robinson, was in custody already at the juvenile detention facility. And the Christopher Atkins, the 12-year-old, we located him at his house yesterday after serving a search warrant.
So they weren't on the run or anything. Were they even surprised to even see you show up?
Yes, they were very surprised we showed up.
Are you able to make any statements as to what they said?
I'll leave that to the sheriff.
No, you'll get that eventually. We told you he was in DJJ. He was arrested by OPD the next morning after the murder.
What were the charges on that?
And a fray at the school. Oh, that's what I call a light bulb coming on right there. Remember I just talked about minimizing and holding students accountable? Our school districts, not just here, I'm not going to point out just mine. School districts across this state and across this nation need to quit minimizing the actions of their students.
Woo! Woo! Now I'm glad that he's being so rough on the media, because we know that they're a big part of the problem. And we hear a lot of issues at schools where people think that the schools are being too hard on the kids. And there have been instances where maybe they have been. I don't know. Now what I want to know, I'm back to the 12-year-old. I'm not done with the 12-year-old. They go to serve a search warrant. I'm going to take a guess that they found what they were looking for. What was the person or persons responsible for the 12-year-old? Do they not ever look through the 12-year-old's room? What the hell is going on here? They serve a search warrant. Again, I'm just taking a guess here. They found what they were there searching for. Crazy. Crazy.
Hold them accountable. That's where the failure is.
Do we know where the last suspect was seen?
We're going to hold that one.
Did all 3 have guns, or was it just one gun? And which one pulled the trigger? Do we know that at this point?
All right. Some of that I'm not going to answer.
Okay.
Some of it I will. The one I will is the 2 confessed to shooting our 3rd victim in the trunk.
How many guns were involved?
I'm not going to answer that. I appreciate your questions. You wouldn't be doing your job if you didn't ask. Any others?
Sheriff, is the 3rd suspect, does the public need to worry about him?
No, the community doesn't need to worry about them outside of, I want them to find them. That's what they need to worry about, is locating it for me. And they do. You ain't ever watched my Wanted by Woods Wednesday? That's successful, and they find them. I'll allow one more.
Are
these juveniles all students at the same school?
No. All righty. Thank you.
Wow, wow, wow. Is anybody surprised that the suspects are turning on each other? What do they say? The first to talk is the first to walk. It takes a lot for someone to keep their mouth shut and gamble their own freedom to protect someone else. It doesn't happen. What's the old saying? Two people can keep a secret if one's dead. That's exactly how it is. It's exactly how it is. Of course, they're all going to turn on each other. They want to look the least guilty. I don't think that's going to go on here. I just don't. No. One person to save their own skin, oh yeah, it might eat at them forever, but they'll get right on the stand and lie. We've seen that many times. J. Lord said, and they shot them because they thought they would snitch. Isn't that something? And it didn't take 2 seconds to round them up, and they all started pointing the fingers at each other. Isn't that something? Crazy. Craziness. I'm going, again, the 12-year-old. What was the 12-year-old doing? I mean, I know the obvious answer. But for whoever's responsible for this 12-year-old, you have no idea who your 12-year-old is hanging out with? 12? And I don't care that Robert is 17 or that Taj is 16. The parents don't know who they're hanging out with. Really don't want to throw any shade to the ones that were murdered. Those parents are going through enough. It's not like these 6 young people went off to college and got their first taste of freedom and they just went off the chain. You know, just went crazy. They were living at home, going to school. We're seeing way too many examples of this. Joneson said, right, these kids need to get their asses home. Thank you, Joneson. Yeah. How many of you were told, no, I don't care what your friends do. My parents used to love to hurt my feelings. They used to love to tell me no. They used to love to say, what makes you think you're special? If you say that to a kid nowadays, oh, shit, you'll be on the Today Show. They'll have group after group after group about you saying, I can't believe they said their child wasn't special. Who would say that to a child? Every child is special. Disgusting. I had no problem telling my kids no. None. It is so messed up. It really is. It's horrible. All right, so I'm going to get to it where they arrested the 2. Now, all 3 are in custody now. Thank you, Slim, for telling me that. I would have gone through the whole show thinking we were still looking for Taj. I even had the reward poster and everything getting ready to post. Thank you, Slim. But now all 3 are in custody.
12-year-old and a 17-year-old are in jail over what the Marion County Sheriff describes as a killing spree that left 3 teenagers dead. Investigators discovered the bodies of the victims over a 3-day period, but say they were all murdered at the same time. News4 Jax reporter Vic Micolucci tells us deputies are still looking for a 3rd suspect who's also a teenager.
The sheriff says these 3 suspects are gang affiliated. However, the 3 victims were as well. He says they were all part of a crime ring in Marion County, and 3 juveniles turned on the other 3. These 2 boys, just 12 and 17, are charged in a disturbing crime spree that left 2 teenage girls and a teenage boy dead.
How come the 12-year-old doesn't even have a shirt on? He doesn't even know when you leave the house, you got to have your clothes on. I've got too many questions here.
We're shocked and saddened by the violence, as all of my citizens, because we are shocked not only are the victims juveniles, but the murderers are juveniles as well.
This morning, Sheriff Billy Woods announced the arrest of Christopher Atkins and Robert Robinson for first-degree murder, armed robbery, and other charges. They haven't caught the third suspect, 16-year-old Taj Bruton. The sheriff is asking someone to turn him in.
We had out there that was gang-related. We have nothing specific to say that it was any rivalry or anything to such that cause. But however, each and every one of them, in some shape or form, is associated with a gang.
That includes the victims, according to the sheriff. He placed them all in the same car on the night of March 30th after an armed robbery. Authorities found 16-year-old Layla Silvernail on the side of the road after neighbors heard gunshots. The following morning, they found a 17-year-old boy shot to death less than a mile away. And on Saturday, they found the car that they were in, partially submerged in a lake. In the trunk, the body of another 16-year-old girl.
Basically, simple terms, there is no honor among thieves. And at some point, these three individuals turned on our three victims and murdered them. Two of them right there. They fled the scenes, but left a lot of evidence in their wake.
Detectives used phone records like text messages and pictures on the victims' iPhones, as well as tips from the community to link the suspected killers. The sheriff told our sister station in Orlando that the 12-year-old is suspected of killing at least one of the victims, which is why we've decided to identify him despite his young age. The sheriff notes this case is incredibly disturbing for him and the investigators. He says parents and guardians need to pay attention to their children, know who they're hanging out with, and what they're doing. I'm Vic Michelucci, Channel 4, the local.
Well, the parents of the suspects get to visit their kids in jail for the rest of their lives, probably. The other three eventually will have to bury their children, or however they choose to do it. I do know there was a couple of GoFundMes. I think one got taken down, and one, it raised a little bit of money. I think, it just didn't get the fanfare that we're used to seeing in these GoFundMes. It's disgusting, and I don't understand it. And the excuses just don't fly with me. I don't know. I mean, it's not that I don't feel some empathy or sympathy for these parents, because I mean, I do. I'm not heartless. It's just the excuses. You all know the type of people we're talking about. We've come across them in chats and stuff like that before. It's just excuse after excuse after excuse. And when they run out of excuses, they just flat out lie. It's like, what are you doing here? Freaking 12-year-old? They served a search warrant on your house? I can't wait to find out what they found. And they all want to be gangsters. Well, get ready. Get ready, because when they go to the big house, when they age out, however they're going to do it in Florida, I don't know how they do it in Florida, but when they eventually come across real gangsters, they're going to wish their parents had parented them. They're going to wish that their parents told them, keep your ass at home. They're going to wish that their parents said, I don't want you hanging out with them. They're going to wish when they run across real badasses, they're going to wish at the age of 12, 16, 17, or who knows how long this has gone back, that their parents actually parented them. They're going to wish. All they have is wishes now, and we know what happens with wishes. You can wish in one hand and shit in the other and see which one fills up faster. It's not going to happen. Their lives, they're done. No, what they did last week is forever. Forever. I mean, it's sad all around, and we're seeing more and more of it. Like I said, the situation with Trenton, Georgia. We had Lily Peters around this time last year. Horrific. The Kylie Rodney saga. I mean, my God, Aiden Fucci, Devin and Lyric, Sierra Rod, that was insane. I can't believe what all was going on in that case. Julie Dunn, whatever happened to the Scared Straight programs? Well, I don't know. I can probably guess, though. I can probably guess. I'm going to look at one more clip of the sheriff. Hang on one second. I thought I had it pulled up. It is Monday. I hear in this one he's really throwing down.
Look, I get the arguments on both sides. Juveniles aren't adults. You don't want to ruin them for the rest of their lives. But I get the social impact of having a sense of accountability. I get the arguments. I want to get a little bit more into the complexity of it. Because the odds are, if you talk to the mothers who are dealing with the worst thing in the world, which is losing a child, they wind up being very quick advocates for making sure that it can never happen to anybody else. And as we know, crime is complicated. And why this happened is complicated. But we also know that we do very little to stop it in any way. And I mean that as a gun owner across the board, how we educate the kid, how we deal with consequences for kids, how we deal with opportunities for kids, how we deal with avenues to dignity for kids, and how we deal with how our society addresses how people store their weapons, how easily you can get them, where illegal firearms come from, how they're sold. I think we should be addressing all of it. Why would you be closed off to anything that might make you have to do this one less time?
Because here's the thing. There's this precious little piece of paper that sits in Washington, D.C. It's called the Constitution of the United States. And our founding fathers put the Second Amendment in there for a clear reason. And I get the argument. You know, people talk about their kids dying. But there was a specific reason. And if we as a society think that we cannot be, that time will not repeat itself, you're foolish. That piece of paper
you don't think we can do any better?
Can we do better? Oh, absolutely we can do better. But the better isn't the one focus on one particular thing. You name particular laws that are in place. All we're doing is keep compounding, putting law after law after law that has zero effect. Listen, here in the state of Florida, convicted felon cannot possess a firearm. You know how many convicted felons we come in contact to possess a firearm?
Most.
The law is ineffective. Yeah, I can charge them.
Yeah, I mean, look, the argument's about enforcement. It's about availability. I'm not saying it's a panacea. I just, I'm a gun owner. You know what I mean? Obviously, I'm not going to be that big a hypocrite. But I think most gun owners are responsible, store and keep their weapon safely, and don't want just anybody getting them. And frankly, most of us are frustrated that nobody knows how to use the weapon, that there's really no training that goes along with it. But do you understand why people got fired up that a man who's supposed to be keeping them safe seemed like he didn't care how many guns there were in society, when the argument you make, guns don't kill people?
Well, people got fired up because of, people like Chris Cuomo that grabbed that soundbite and made a big deal out of it. A big deal out of it. They're trying to pick a fight with this sheriff, and he's not gonna have it. We're talking about a 12-year-old, a 17-year-old, and a 16-year-old. They should have been at home or at school, period. This is a parental problem. This is a parental problem.
Well, none of the things that kill us on their own. Fentanyl doesn't kill you if you don't take it, right? Drugs don't kill you if you don't put them in you, but we make them illegal because that's all that can happen if you do. Guns are the same way. That's why we see most of our death is what? Suicide, right? That's the #1 gun crime. I'm just saying, are you really that closed off to putting everything on the table?
Absolutely. I am. Because here's the one thing. You don't have a constitutional right to take fentanyl or any other drug. You have a constitutional right to possess a firearm. And as much as distasteful as it is, even people that are out here that, well, we may not like. And if a criminal hasn't done certain things that rises to the level of a felony, even they have the right to possess a firearm. And don't get me wrong, I know people are going to take that statement right there and just run with it or make something totally out of what I'm saying. Okay? But the fact is there is things that you cannot compromise. And that's the Constitution of this United States. You can't.
I hear you.
He goes, I hear you. And for some reason, his mouth looks like a butthole when he talks. Now, he's smarter than this. He's just trying to get a rise out of the sheriff. He's really trying to get a rise out of him. For one, he knows the sheriff can't do anything about gun laws because the sheriff is not a legislator. He's not a senator. He's not a congressman. He doesn't deal with the Beltway elites. He's smarter than that. He also knows when he's like, nobody said fentanyl. Like he said, there's nothing in the Constitution that protects your right to fentanyl. You idiot. You idiot. I mean, it's like he's just trying to get him pissed off. That's what he does. That's his thing. So, what a stupid thing to say. Well, drugs. Okay, there's nothing in the Constitution that says you can. Stupid. Stupid.
Hear you, but you know the law. You know that it's not an unrestricted right. And you know that it's only in recent history that we even attached an individual right to it because its original incentive was, of course, derivative of then General Washington, then President Washington, and his right for a well-organized and regulated and armed militia, so he didn't have to keep giving them weapons. So we've evolved or devolved depending on your politics. But I just know that we can do better. And when somebody's in charge of keeping us safe, we just hope that they're as open-minded as well, even though you don't create the laws, but you do have to execute them. So, and enforce them. So, Sheriff, I appreciate you coming on to explain your words, and I appreciate you, and I hope you keep your community safe.
That last dig at the end was rude, rude, rude. And I hope you keep your community safe. I really wish I wouldn't have played that now. What a rude thing to say. Hello, Kaleida. Hope I love you too. What a rude ass thing to say. You just rounded those 3 up. Well, now all 3 of them. You're getting justice for these parents, but you want to pick a fight with this sheriff. I have a feeling this sheriff won't be talking to him ever again. Especially with that last dig at the end. That wasn't what he was there to discuss. He was there to discuss what happened in his county. He wasn't there to talk about what he wanted to pick a fight about. That was ridiculous. Ridiculous. Open-minded about what? What's next? What does Chris Cuomo suggest you do with the 3 people that took 3 lives? He didn't bring that up, did he? Because he knows not to bring that up because he knows that we're all going to be like-minded about that. What an idiot. What a total idiot. I put the link up if anybody wants to come up and talk about this. I'm sorry, I thought I had pinned it earlier. It's a Monday, and it's a Monday after a holiday, so everything's out of sorts. C-Star said if looks could kill by Cuomo. Yeah. Look at the sheriff just looking at him. And I like how he cuts it off on his last beat, which is, I hope you keep your community safe. Well, looks like he is. I also like how the sheriff said in the press conference, there's no serial killer on the loose. This is an isolated incident in that county. And I'm not disagreeing with the sheriff because he obviously knows what's going on in his own county. But when I look at all of these other cases of these young people, I refuse to call them kids, something's going on at home. The inmates are running the asylum. It's not if they're going to wind up hurting somebody. It's not if they're going to go to jail. It's when. This is not behavior they're going to grow up. They're going to grow out of. They're not going to mature and blossom out of this. We've seen it too many times. It's horrible. Now, I do wonder, and I don't want to wish anything more upon these families, what's going to happen with the siblings that are left in these homes, because we already know we don't have parents watching the kids. Hands down, we don't. I mean, all of these parents are like, I didn't know anything was going on. I didn't know anything was going on. They just served a search warrant on your house. Where did you think the 12-year-old was? Have a feeling he didn't say, I'm going to go check the mail and I'll be right back in. He had to have been gone for a while. Wow. No excuse. None. I just can't stand it. It makes me so damn mad I can't even see straight. But on that note, I'm going to start shutting this down. I have several appointments this afternoon, so I'm not going to be streaming the trial. I saw a couple of people asking about it, and I do apologize. I should have put something on the community tab to let you guys know. I should be back here around 2 o'clock my time, so that's 1 o'clock Colorado time. If you want me to jump in then, we can, and we can catch the last part of it. I believe today the medical examiner is talking about Gannon. I believe, if I heard that right. So you tell me, I'm down either way. Doesn't matter to me. So you guys can just take a poll real quick and let me know, and that way I can get it ready, and then I can just go live when I get back. You're welcome, mermaid. This is a really difficult story, and it's just, there's so many red flags, and it's just so obvious what's really going on. Cat said, yes, please. Mermaid said, I'm in. Okay. I'll set it up right now. And when I get home, it should be about the time they get done with their lunch. And then so we will catch the last part of the trial for today. So I will see you guys back here in a couple of hours. JTB, happy birthday. Stacy, happy birthday. And thank you guys for being here and looking at this case. It is horrific. It's horrific. Okay, SRB said she's in. All right. All right. Look at Linda Lou is a new member. Thank you. You were a member before. She's back. She's back. All right, guys. I'll see you back here in a couple hours. You're the absolute best. Have a good lunch and whatever else you have going on. And see ya.